Evening. Welcome to the Kingsnorth Parish Council meeting of May 2021. I'd just like to state initially that this meeting is recorded both for the purposes of taking the minutes and now also as the Parish Council publishes a recording of the meeting online. If there are any members of the public that don't wish to be part of that, then please let Peter know. If you do choose to speak or appear on video, I'd suggest that you speak only, and then we can edit the voice. Well, actually, sorry. If you choose to speak, we'll need to keep the question in. It's because the parish council will be responding, but otherwise, I don't see an issue. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is to elect a chair for the next 12 months. Do we have any? I'm willing to continue.
I propose you, James.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Thank you. Did we have any alternative motions? Okay, can I have a show of hands in favour, please? Okay, any against or abstentions? Can you please vocalise those, please? I abstain. Thank you. To elect a vice chair for the next 12 months. I'd like to propose Councillor Townend.
I'll second.
Thank you. Did we have any alternatives, motions? Okay, can all those in favour show your hands, please? Okay, any against or abstaining, can you please vocalise that?
Abstain.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to review the committee structure and appoint councillors to outside bodies and committees. Peter, were you going to run through the current position for us?
Yes, so just coming out, or just before the pandemic and going into lockdown, or I think as we're going into lockdown, the parish council agreed to suspend all committees as was, and just to have a staffing committee and a finance committee to look at the budget. And obviously it was agreed that all parish councillors would be part of the appeals committee should any appeals arise. So I can just show you the what was the structure, so you can just see what were the committees prior to the suspension. So I'm just showing these now, just so you're aware. So obviously the decision you need to make is whether you would like to continue as we are with all the committees suspended and continuing to meet on a monthly basis, or whether you would like to go back to a committee structure. And yeah, that's about it really.
I'd have to propose that we keep it the same as it is now.
I'll second that.
I didn't hear the proposal. Can you say it again, please?
I'll propose that we keep things the same as they are now in terms of the committees and the way that they're structured.
Thank you very much.
Can I point out one thing though? On open spaces stroke pavilion, we've got Mike Ciccone. He was actually on the committee, so we need to see whether or not he's still willing to be so.
Sorry, I'd lost connection for a second. Could you summarise where we are for me?
We are voting now, James, on whether we keep things the same as they are. I made the proposal that we keep the committees as they are, and Councillor Shelley has seconded it, but Shelley also has pointed out that that Mike Ciccone is a member of the group and the Open Spaces Committee, and whether we would need to ask to keep him on.
Sorry,
or if
Ben.
he wants to still be involved in it.
Could you just confirm that because did you mean that we want to continue as we are, as in not having the committees in place, or did you want to confirm that you wanted to go back to the committees? Because obviously,
confirm as we are in place.
We're not. It's a suspension of all committees.
Sorry,
other than financial and staffing.
Okay, because it wasn't clear there. Because obviously,
so as we currently are at the moment, keeping it the same as it is.
Okay, just on as we currently are, my understanding is that the cafe committee operates, and I believe the only councillor on that's Ben. Is that right? Or he's the chair anyway? There may be another councillor. And the staffing committee operates, and that's myself, Ben, and Councillor Hicks, I believe. Also,
and the finance.
Finance hasn't operated actually to date, although we've had a meeting of any councillors that wish to attend. But we do have an appeals committee as well, which I believe we decided the membership of around Christmas time, November, because it couldn't be the same people that were on the staffing committee. So I think we've only got 3, which is staffing, appeals, and cafe. So we'd be proposing that we continue with that as it is, or I imagine, as I understand it, you're proposing we continue as we currently are. Is that for the entire year, or for a period of time, or? My proposal would be for the year, but if someone wants to make another proposal to keep it on the trial error, that would be fine as well.
Can I make a suggestion? I fully agree with what Ben has said, and I think that we should only have these the 3 committees he's actually mentioned. I think it would be worthwhile getting rid of all the other committees long term, because there's no reason why we can't reinstate them at a later date. It would make the thing a bit neater, I think.
I agree, and then if we have anything like a big project or something like that, then we can make a project group.
Indeed, we can always have working groups. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bridger, I think you wanted to come in.
No, I was just going to say basically what Councillor Hicks said.
Okay. I'm a little unclear on the finance one, just because I think that Councillor Townend and Councillor Barber believed that it had been operating, but I understand it hasn't. So are you wanting a finance committee to be operating, which would be more than has been to date, but I can understand why you may want it to be. But it's
I know that obviously we had a committee and that it was we haven't met, but we met as it is. So my proposal was to keep it as it was currently.
Okay. I just need to be clear, and so Peter's clear as well, and doesn't ask me the question after the meeting, and then I say, I'm not sure. Okay, so we have one proposal, which I believe is to continue as we currently are, which is with 3 committees, which is staffing, the cafe and appeals. Okay, and I assume Councillor Townend and Councillor Barber that you're proposing the same membership, and that those people who are on those committees are happy to continue. Okay. All those in favour, please show your hands.
Yeah, agree.
Any against or abstaining, can you please vocalise that? Thank you. Then I believe that we have to decide councillors to outside bodies, or representatives to outside bodies. So I believe we have representatives to CALC, which to date has been myself and Councillor Hicks. We have Kingsnorth Village Hall, which to date Peter's been our liaison to the Village Hall, although he's not a trustee. And the Kingsnorth Recreations, sorry, got that the wrong way around. Kingsnorth Recreation Centre is Peter. Kingsnorth Village Hall, we did decide was Alison Breese at the last meeting. So I wonder if we want to carry that forward. Don't imagine things have changed in the last month. So would members like to change that or continue as we are? Please discuss and make proposals.
I would like to stay on the KLC, please. because also it gives us an input into the Joint Transportation Board if we need to.
Okay. So are you proposing that we continue with the current members?
If everybody's happy to do so, indeed, yes.
Okay.
I'll second that, James.
Thank you. Can all those, sorry, Councillor Moss, did you want to speak or are you voting?
Yeah, no, just a quick question. Who did we decide was on the village hall?
I think Peter's the liaison to the village hall. Sorry, Alison Brees would be the parish council's representative member to the village hall.
Okay, that's cool. Thanks very much.
Okay, so the proposal which has been seconded is that the current appointments roll forward essentially. So can all those in favour please show your hands?
Great.
Any against or abstaining, can you vocalise that please? Thank you.
Before you move on, please may I say that the KALC appointments, you, Peter, will need to advise the KALC chairman that these appointments have been made. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the annual meeting's tomorrow, I believe, Aileen.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, to note those present and receive apologies. So I've had apologies from Councillor Gurava. I've also had apologies from Councillor Shorter, Councillor Wedgbury, and Peter. Have you had any further apologies?
Councillor Hayward.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest, please?
Yeah, I've got one as the director of the company that provides the web hosting and the Zoom hosting and emails.
Thank you. Councillor Moss.
Yes, as chairman of the trustees for Kingsnorth Recreational Centre.
Thank you. Councillor Hicks.
Trustees Village Hall.
Thank you. And I think that's everybody. Okay, the next item is public comments and observations, and that I'm aware we've not got any requests to speak. Okay, so we'll move on. Verbal reports from external parties. That I'm aware we have no county councillors, borough councillors or PCSO. So we'll move on. The next item is approval of the minutes of Tuesday the 13th of April. Does anybody have any questions here or would like to propose?
I'll happily propose.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour, please show your hands. Thank you. Any against or abstaining, please vocalise that. Thank you. That I understand we have no parish community grant applications. The next item is the parish action sheet. So I'll talk through the items. So the first one is discussing with ABC around the custodian trustee contract on the recreation centre. ABC's legal team remains busy. We have requested a meeting with Len Meyer where we could chase him on that, but we've not received a date yet. A pre-application discussion on various projects that the PC might undertake in the parish. That has been requested again now that Artemis Christofi has left Ashford Borough Council with the new officer. We have been stuck with this for a while, so I would suggest that we ask Councillor Shorter if he can help us with the planning department there to get a date set for that, because this has been on here for about a good 6 months now. Are members happy for me to do that? Thank you. The Bridgefield and Park Farm snakes, that appears later on the agenda. The Angling Society and Park Farm moat. Peter Ashford Borough Council has requested a method statement for health and safety purposes and insurance from the contractor that was going to do the fish survey in the moat and the silt survey. We're still awaiting that, so we've not been able to action that yet. There's also the subsidence and level issues there. Ashford Borough Council did an initial survey, which I've mentioned to members, and that raised quite a lot of questions. They're now suggesting that they will, sorry. Sorry, I've got a dog invaded the premises. So Ashford Borough Council are going to do a CCTV camera through the drains to see if they can establish where there are breaks and leaks in the pipes, and see if that explains what we're seeing there. Then the next item is the Kingsnorth Village Hall, which I think will take an update and closed. Then there's the future of the conservation field. So had a meeting a couple of weeks ago about that, which I think was attended by about a dozen residents, something like that. They requested another meeting in about 6 weeks after the first one, which would be about 4 weeks from now. And Peter and I did meet with Mike Saccone just to understand. It had been, well, we got the inference from Ashford that they may be taking over the land sometime soon. That's not potentially Peter and I's understanding from Mike. If the PC wants to do something, he's open to that, but equally he's planning to continue for a while on the majority, I believe. Mowing regime for hedges, verges and wildlife. I've not looked into that, but will do so. Contact landowners regarding the footpath routes. So that action's now been, we have contacted the landowner and they are in principle happy. This one will perhaps now be deleted, and we'll replace that with starting to work up a planning application and identify a route. The exact route will be the next step there. Councillor Bridget, if I'm muted, do you want to speak?
Yeah, it was just about the next point. It was just to confirm that the amendment was done following the vote on the last meeting, and that's all been updated on that policy, so that one can be closed down.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first one's ready to go, as I understand it. I've just got to have a double check.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. The possibility of the council purchasing a flagpole. Sorry, is that on the agenda, Peter, or we're still waiting for the meeting with Ashford, aren't we? That's where we are with that. Okay. And Peter, do you want to speak on the litter, because you've been on to a meeting on that?
Yeah, I attended some training for Keep Britain Tidy with various organisations from across Kent, which was really interesting. And basically their stance on litter picking was that any roads that are 40 mile per hour and above shouldn't be litter picked by general public or volunteers, and that we should obviously raise it with KCC, Ashford Borough Council or Highways England, which I did do following we had a few comments from residents regarding litter picking along Chilmington Green Road up to sort of Stubbs Cross, and also Long Length. I know it's kind of right on the border of us and Great Chart, so I reported them to Ashford Borough Council along with Steeds Lane and the top end of Church Hill, and Stumble and Bond, because they're all national speed limit, and they said they were going to be added to a litter picking route so that proper professional contractors will be able to pick those areas, and they said to raise any other ones in the future. So yeah, it's a good meeting, and also from that, Ashford Borough Council have contacted me to arrange a meeting, which I was due to meet last week, but she cancelled for some reason. She didn't say why, but basically they've got some funding to get some more litter bins across the parish, and they want to work with a proactive parish, which is why they spoke to us, which is good. So we're going to talk to her about different places where we need additional bins, which I did send out an email to everyone about. So that's it, really.
Councillor Bridger.
Yeah, just a quick one on the bins, Peter. There might be, I don't know if you've seen on Facebook over the weekend about the one up by the cafe. So that would probably be a good location to put a couple on there.
Yep. We've already discussed that before that came up. So more on the playing field because there's only currently one. So there'd be more. That's where we're going to suggest, obviously, either side of both playing fields. So we're already on it.
Is ABC only looking at general bins, or is it dog poo bins as well?
No, they're dual use now. So you put both into one.
Because a good place might be Hillary's Way on the corner where the gate is, because that seems to be getting quite a lot there when you sort of walk the dog, because there's none for at least a good 10 to 15 minutes walk.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yep. If you just drop me an email of any locations, anyone, and then I can put them into compile a list when I meet with her.
Are they going to raise the drag distance for that one? Because they won't walk too far, will they?
Well, I wouldn't say it was too far because you've got the gate by Hillary's Way that comes out by the church. So they could technically just open the gate, walk down, and if it's just there, they could pick it up.
Okay, yep.
There is a bin just up there, so they can put if they can walk an extra 50 metres, they could put their dog poo in there. But I know people won't, but
to be on the right desire lines and things, don't they? Amazing the difference it makes. Okay. Did you want to take the next item, Peter, as well?
Yes, I've emailed. I've spoken to Councillor Bridger because he suggested some signage for the community cafe, and I went back to him after speaking to Matt, the grounds supervisor, and basically we think that we should be looking at not signage for the cafe because it's a sports pavilion. It's not just a cafe, and obviously we've got the cafe, we've got the football club, plus we've got other users. So we're going to look at maybe getting a notice board because obviously there's not really kind of an ideal location for a sign. So if we put a new notice board up onto the wall on the right hand side as you look at it, then we can put information about the football club, the cafe, and then anything else that we've got going on. And obviously with the refurbishment that's gone on, I think we're going to get more bookings, which should be good. So yeah, I'd propose that we look at getting a new notice board there instead of signage.
Yeah, I'm happy to either second it or propose it.
I think the cost likely to be over. We're going to have to bring it back on an agenda later.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'll get some quotes for. There's a notice board on Washford that needs to be replaced up by John Wesley, so I'll get a quote for that one and the one at the pavilion, and I'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. So the next item was budget items to be discussed. So this is really just to flag that we need to have a discussion about what was in the budget for this year and start working up those projects and penciling in what needs to happen when to deliver them in the year. So that's something perhaps we might have a meeting between now and the next PC meeting to discuss some of those and invite members to that. Research low traffic neighbourhoods. Councillor Hicks very swift on that, so that's already on the agenda and we'll discuss it there. Look at planting flowers around the parish. This may, essentially we need to identify some land where we might be able to do it. So that might be similar to the conservation fields topic and also the mowing regime on verges and things. It may be that there's something there, an overlap. Councillor Mrs. Moss, please.
Sorry. If we are going to plant bulbs and flowers and things like that, can we please tell our Ash Borough Councils aspire not to mow over them and pick them up? Because we've all worked very hard on this estate and we all went out to look to see the bulbs growing and things, and they've all been taken out. All around the children's play area, all along the paths, the footpaths, and we very nicely as a group went out and planted all these. And then as fire came along and mowed and took all the stuff off. So I don't think they liked it because we made a little hole around the fence of the play area and also on the paths, But we were very conservative as to where we put them. So because we thought we were saving, you know, making it look nice around trees and things, and they've all gone.
Okay, I'll go and have a look. That
You're
is
quite
a
welcome to come and have a cup of coffee, and I'll take you.
After May 17th,
After May 17th. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
or
Sorry.
in the garden.
yeah.
Patricia, can I just check? Did they actually take them out, or did they mow over them?
No, they mowed over them.
Okay, so they didn't take them out. Okay,
No,
that's fine.
No, but we can't find them. That's the thing.
No, that's fine. I mean, did they flower before they mowed them, or did they?
No.
Not?
No,
They didn't.
No.
Okay.
but it's like the same thing. Excuse me, digressing from that. But it's around the park bench. I put flowers on either side, and the plants at the back. But they went, so I put some more down, and of course I keep repeating and putting more down. They sort of now leaving them there alone. So maybe that's the way to do it. I don't know.
Okay, I think we need to contact them and get them to agree not to.
I did actually, James, talk to them when they were cutting down some of the hedges and things, and they said they weren't aware of it. So, but they're very nice gentlemen that were cutting hedges, so they were upset for us.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you. I think there's probably quite a strong case here to encourage local people to plant flowers in their own borders. I mean, along this road, a lot of people have planted bulbs. The people who live in the farmhouse at the top of Tally Ho Road have planted stacks of bulbs along there. And I think if people say they would like to hold bulbs, I think maybe they should think about planting things themselves where the public can see them, in addition to what we can do as a parish council. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I have seen schemes that other parishes have operated where they'll provide the bulbs if you're providing it in a sort of public-facing garden or verge or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's the end of the. I'm completely blank now. The parish action sheet. Did any members have additional items that they'd like to be added to that? Okay, thank you. So we'll move back onto the main agenda. So the first item's the community film event. Did Peter or Marie want to talk us through this?
Marie, did you want to speak or? No.
I'm fine, you go for it.
That's fine. Let me just get out. Okay, so back last year, Councillor Hicks suggested that we put on a outdoor cinema, like a film event, which was a great idea. But obviously last year with the pandemic, we couldn't really look at holding it. But now we're getting closer to a, oh, hang on a second. Can you still see the proposal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I can't. So that's why. What Marie's done is she's done a great job. She's got out and got some quotes for an outdoor cinema to be held at like the playing fields. She's got 2 quotes. She did approach 4, but only 2 came back for an outdoor cinema screen that will be located kind of on the playing fields, and people will be able to sit around socially distanced if required on picnic benches or picnic blankets and bring their own food. We could look at potentially having maybe some food stalls there and the cafe open. So we've got two options: Skylight Cinema, which is £1,690 for one night, and that includes an inflatable screen, a projector, a PA system, a technician, set up, back down, generator, travel accommodation, everything that's kind of plus insurance, and the organiser's checklist. They can also provide support with getting a licence for the film, and if we wanted to do tickets, they can do that as well. The second company was slightly cheaper, based on a similar kind of a slightly bigger screen, but not quite as good projector. So there's there's a few kind of different options there with regards to that. They also provide a technician as well. So basically, we wanted to get agreement or thoughts, questions from the council on what this would obviously be held after the 21st of June, probably looking at August or early September, once kind of we're more into the easing of restrictions. So yeah, it's just over to you guys to decide if you want to go ahead, and we can start organising. And I was chatting to James when we went through the agenda, and maybe we could get together a little working group with myself and Marie, just so we can have a bit of a committee that's going to organise anything on the day.
If they say the cost for one night, what time does that start? Is there if we got a full length film, say that takes 2 hours, can we actually have two viewings, say one starting at 5 and the other starting at 8?
Good question. We can ask that. Yeah, we can definitely ask the question. Yeah, I think
also you need to contact Ashford Borough Council because you'll need a temporary licence. It's only about 25 quid.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We can do that.
I hope it goes ahead. We could actually go round with a bucket asking people to put money in for a particular charity if we were so inclined. I mean, this is what they did in Tenterden when I picked the idea up. And at the time, they were collecting money for the NHS charities. I don't know if we want to support a charity, if people are going to come and see this for free, just an idea.
There's a couple of suggestions I've got is that we could, well, first and foremost, if we did go ahead with it, then we could have a public vote for the film that's shown. So we could have a selection, and then we could, but then also if you did decide they wanted to do it for a charity, then again, we could have a public vote for the charity that they would like to support if we did want to do it for a charity. So I think getting the residents involved, I know that Great Chart did it when they did it in their village hall. They gave them a selection of, 3 different films, and then they decided which one they wanted to see.
Oh, excellent, good. I'll join you on your committee if you're going to do one.
Okay, so given the date in June, I guess members could either decide that they're willing to authorise up to a certain amount and let members and Peter and Marie get on with it, or they could say, look, broadly, we're happy with this type of sum. Please come back to us with the final thing, and then we'll authorise it then. I guess, or you may not be happy at all. But I guess those are kind of the options we've got here. Okay, Councillor Townend.
Because I think we would have to maybe suggest a sum to the higher end of what the proposals that Peter put forward, because obviously there's options there for 1 day or 2 days, or if we want to show 2 films and stuff like that, and that's a lot to be decided. So I'd happily make a proposal that we allow Peter to form a working party for this project with £5,000 budget before then anything else, or
we have got a budget line in the budget. I think it's I can check. So
I'm going to take Councillor Bridger while you're checking, Peter.
Or maybe the amount was a bit too much. I just see because the most expensive thing was around about 3,900 or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Councillor Bridger, can you?
I was just going to second Ben's proposal up to 5,000.
Okay. I guess, like the Christmas lights, whilst I'd like to think that we can do sort of some big events in time, probably lean towards something fairly manageable to start with and build it over years, rather than try and perhaps do 2 showings over on 2 days consecutively or something, and because there are going to be teething issues, and what I don't want is for us to aim a bit too high, and we put ourselves off ever doing it again. I'd rather, but that's my personal view. But and what do we have in the? I've got 2,500 in my.
No,
mind,
we've got 1,750. So
Okay.
that is the budget for the film. But I did
I think the only
notice.
reason sorry, I think the only reason I was saying about the multiple shows is one, because obviously Councillor Hicks suggesting I think it's a good idea, but I think there might be a thing for one, maybe having a screening for children of a certain age at a certain time, and then a different screening of a different film for people, that kind of thing. But
with the second option, you actually get the screen for 10 days. Sorry, 10 days, 10 hours. So, we could easily have an early showing for younger children and then a later showing for kind of older. So, there's definitely room for...
If my proposal for 5,000 was too much, then I'd happily change the budget suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hicks?
I wonder, should we be thinking about insurance for wet weather days?
I mean, that's going to have cost implications, but potentially...
Indeed, but on the other hand, if you're going to lose the whole amount, I think we need to find that out.
That could be part of the working group, couldn't it?
Yes. I think £5,000 is a sensible idea.
Okay.
The only thing I'd say is that we've obviously have got a budget for this. So I would suggest that we stick to the budget. And then if we need to look at more, then perhaps we bring it to the council. But I mean, if you want to go over the budget, you can, but I would recommend that we go with the budget we've set, or you've set.
Thank you. Councillor Cosgrove?
Yeah, there's also the matter of if it's holding a large public event, we've got toilets to consider. And I agree with Aileen about insurances, and it's very weather dependent as well. So there's a lot of other considerations, and I agree with Peter that we just go with the budget. I agree with you, James, that we just go small just to sample the population, because not sure how big the appetite is for this. The first one will be very small until word gets around, and then it will develop. So we don't want to put on a big show and have it completely flop. When the reverse might be better considered.
Also, with regards to the weather, I do believe the film can still be shown in the rain, and people go to jazz concerts and various other things with their rain jackets on and their umbrellas up. So if it's a free event, then we leave it to the public to decide if they want to come or not, unless it's lightning, obviously.
Sorry, I'm just going to make a proposal myself. I'd like to propose that this come back into the June committee as a proposal with a budget in the order of 2,000 or less, and you may have a suggestion for an extra that you think is worthwhile that the PC can consider at the time. But broadly, I'm happy with this type of idea at that sort of a level. But I think, as Councillor Cosgrove and some others have suggested, there's perhaps a little bit more detail we need, and perhaps some other costs. But I'd really like to see the sort of final thing in June and give it the go-ahead. But generally, yes, I'm happy. Councillor Townend, Hicks, and then Bridger, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to say the only reason that I agree that we have a budget for it, so we should stick to it. But obviously, it seems that since we've got a budget for it, the budget probably isn't enough for what it is. And the whole point is to form a group of people to have some kind of freedom to kind of put it together, to discuss all the multiple options, and then come to us to put a proposal forward. I don't think the budget is enough for what we've done for it now. I mean, the screen was £1,610 or £1,690 for one use, and that's before you think of insurance and toilets and all the other kind of stuff that we've already just put forward. Again, as well, I don't think it's necessarily around about how successful or flop it is. We're putting on an event for the local community, and it's a free event. If people want to show up, people want to show up. It's not going to be gauged by how many people show up or how much money we make. We're providing a service and providing something. So I think that if the reason why I said the amount is to give people some flexibility to be able to make some arrangements and then move forward.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hicks.
Right, I agree with Councillor Townsend about the budget. But what I really wanted to say was that the church actually do often provide different films for different people. And if it was going to be a wet weather thing, there's always a possibility we could involve them and ask to put the screen in the church. Don't know if it go down well, but if we're going to have a working party on it, then maybe we should ask someone from the church to come along as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bridger.
Yeah, I think Councillor Mr. Moss has got a proposal, because I've just seen on the shared agenda, he was writing, it was coming up on my screen and not on the Zoom.
Sorry, Councillor Mr. and Mrs. Moss.
Not everybody's going to be 101% behind us. So you sometimes get people that go off at tangents and, you know, you might have a bit of trouble there. So just put that in the back of the mind when you're talking about how many people you're going to have there. Because it's not only the residents that live around there, it'll be other people coming in as well. So you've got to be a bit careful as to the large amount of people that are coming in. Do you understand what I mean? It could be really A1 thing, but I mean, if there's going to be angst with the residents who live there, close to the football pitch, you might have some conflict of emotions going on. So be very much aware of that when you're thinking about having a film show. I think it's an excellent idea if it can be carried on and people enjoy it. But, you know, both are funny at times when it's not in my backyard. I'm not being a downer, but I just...
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I guess, I mean, for me, I understand what councillors are saying about the cost, but I think there were options there that were 850 plus VAT, the other option for the night. But my motion hasn't been seconded, so we've got one motion which has been proposed and seconded, which I believe is Councillor Townend's and seconded by Councillor Bridger, that up to £5,000 may be spent on this, and that is delegated to Peter in consultation with members, and that they'll form a group to discuss it. So can all those in favour please show your hands? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any against or abstaining? I'm against at that level, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm against it because we're setting a budget to go up to rather than setting an event to set the budget. Let's see what the event comes out at before we set a budget too far ahead. If we're proposing to spend up to 5,000, we're going to spend it irrespective of whether we put it on or not.
Okay, thank you. So you got the result there, Peter. So that's passed. So the next item on the agenda is an update on the site visit with Persimmon Homes on the creation of a new footpath, authorising any action. Peter, do you want to take that one?
Thank you, James. So James and myself met with Persimmon, must have been just after the last meeting, potentially, or just before. And we walked the length of the path that we're looking at, obviously joining up. So if you know Bridgefield, you go over the bus bridge into Park Farm North. There's a bridleway that goes round towards the woods. Basically, there was a footpath, because you can see the edging, that goes along, kind of alongside the railway and the A2070 down towards Park Farm Tesco's, and at the end of that is another bit of concreted path. So we're basically looking at continuing the path from the bus bridge down to meet up with the other path at the end. So when we met with Persimmon, they looked at the site. They said that they couldn't see any reason why it wasn't an issue, And then following that, they sent out an email, which I've got a copy of, and have shared in the agenda, but I will give you a copy as well, so you can see it. Let me just get it up. When I've got so many tabs.
If that's got email addresses in it, then perhaps we shouldn't, as it's public.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Sorry.
I'll leave it as it is. I'll just read off it. So basically, they said that they confirmed the situation has been raised with their MD, and from discussion, is happy to move things forward. However, given Persimmon has a legal interest in the unused area of the footpath at present, instead of an initial licence that was suggested, Persimmon feel that transferring all of the land to the parish would be the best option. Whilst the licence would be possible, assessing the register and the title plans in conjunction with land, it proves to be complex and will require a legal input. Therefore, splitting the land and transferring it over the area required for surfacing would be a more logical option. Unfortunately, because the land is not seen as beneficial to Persimmon, our MD will not sign off the legal fees on our side, and they would look at us to cover this cost. And then basically they've asked if we can advise whether this would be possible. So obviously I sent back a holding email to say that we had our parish council meeting today, and I was going to raise this with everyone. So obviously they're looking at gifting us the land for us to be able to go ahead. Well, obviously submit a planning application and obviously spec up the path. I've spoken to KCC with regards to the input, and they said that they gave us a specification for a path, but they said they wouldn't be able to give us any more advice because it's not one of their kind of priority areas, and they've got too much workload. So we'd kind of be left to it. So yeah, so basically this is kind of over to you guys to decide whether you want us to progress. Obviously speaking to Ashford about planning application, and also seeking the costs to cover the legal fees and the transfer of the land to us.
Councillor Townend?
Do we have an understanding of what the potential cost might be?
The legal cost for the transfer of the land?
Yeah.
I imagine they're going to be fairly non-committal on that. That is something that we can go back to them on. And also the other issue is that until we sort of got a fair way along in the planning process, we don't know on a map where the route is, and therefore we couldn't do the transfer first before we've gone some way along the road, planning wise.
Okay.
I mean, I don't imagine. I'd be very surprised if it was more than a few thousand, but we probably need to have
any cost. Is there any cost in getting to that stage, James, with the planning?
Yes. So in terms of planning, there'll be a planning application fee, which is fairly minimal, but the more significant costs will be, you've probably got to have the site surveyed. We're then going to have, there will likely be ecological issues and needs to have ecological surveys, and they may be, I mean, just an initial survey from a quote we've got elsewhere in Washford for something else. I imagine that's going to be best part of £700. If you've then got to mitigate something, it's going to be the same again, and there'll be supervision when their works are actually occurring and things like that.
But we have a budget for this in the budget, don't we?
I think it's
as a project.
As a project, yeah. I think there's around, is it 28 or something, Peter?
Yeah, I'm just finding it.
I'll take Councillor Hicks and then perhaps Peter will
Yeah.
find the number.
Despite all these potential problems, I do think it's something that we should take and go ahead with, because it will benefit so many different people. But can I remind you that when the footpath from the school across the playing fields on Kingsnorth Hill was built, it was the parish councillors who went out there and put all the rubble down themselves without any edging, anything like that. So we might even be able to draw on the community to come and help us as a project, because it will benefit most of them as well.
Okay,
I'd happily propose to move forward, James.
I think the options are whether you're happy to delegate to Peter a certain amount to start progressing a planning application, or if you want him to start getting quotes for those applications and bring back an estimate at the next PC of what he thinks that's going to cost, and we keep progressing that way. Or, I mean, you may want to do that because at the same time you want to ask Persimmon, what kind of figure do you imagine this is going to be in terms of your legal costs? I mean, the one thing we would like to get some pre-app advice from Ashford, which we've said earlier today that we'll chase Neil about getting that pre-application meeting, because ideally you'd want to do this type of thing whilst it's still reasonably dry, rather than it falling next year. Councillor Moss, please.
Thank you, Chair. It seems to me, we're going to do things that benefit the parish and the residents, which is fine, and I don't disagree. But we need to take a bit more formal structure with this. If we're looking at surveys by different bodies, then there's a certain amount that we should actually get down on paper and look at before we actually commit monies to it. Even if it's a ballpark figure of plus or minus 10%, will be better than a finger in the air guess at how much it might cost. Now, I'm willing to be part of any project committee that wants to go ahead and do something like this, having done many projects in my lifetime. So I think I would suggest that there is a working group for this project and take it forward that way.
Is that proposal, Councillor Moss?
I was just chatting. I can make it a proposal if you like.
Nudge, nudge.
I propose what I've just said.
Okay. I'll second that. Okay. So do you imagine that we'd be able to bring something back, although to a degree, may not be as accurate as you were suggesting, but something back to June, and then we'll have an idea how it's going to progress, if it is going to progress from then, sort of thing. Is that possible?
Just to let you know, in the budget, we've put aside £24,765 towards the creation of a footpath. So we do have a sizable budget. Obviously, that may be based on kind of the actual, the meterage, not the pre-app, etc. But it does give us some kind of a budget to work off. Obviously, we can go and I can go ahead and look at the overall costs for surveys and planning and etc. And obviously speak about the legal.
I mean, I was obviously assuming that we would get the free quotes we needed to get those kind of things anyway.
Councillor Moss?
Yeah, what I suggest is I can liaise with Peter and anybody else who wants to have a chat about it, Councillor Townsend maybe. What we need to do is put a project proposal together, saying what we want to do, what's in it, and where we want to go from there. And they're only words, but we can get that together, and then that could be the remit from what we're working off.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I think Councillor Moss has proposed, and I've seconded that, like he said, that he's happy to lead a group that's going to work this up to a greater degree. Now that it seems that we've got a site that may work, we need to understand what the costs are of progressing it through planning, legal, and what the actual build cost might look like, to decide if we actually do want to start along that road. I think that's what he's saying. So can all members in favour please show their hands? Okay, any against or abstaining, can you please vocalise that? Thank you. So the next item was Washford Community Woodland Clearance Update. So there is some money in the budget for tidying up the Washer Woodland, and Peter is discussing with Ashborough Council whether we can get some skips there to enable the woodland to be cleared out. There is a woodland group that's formed that intends on having a litter pick throughout the woods in about a month's time. So we're hoping that we can use some of the budget money towards the skips, and that I think Peter's volunteered me and the parish staff to be filling the skips up and things, and make a start, and then the residents group may do some further work on that also. I don't know if members had any questions on that, but that's potentially coming in under the 500. So Peter's got authority and it's within the budget. So I wasn't particularly asking for consent there, but if you've got any queries or concerns, then let me know. Okay, thank you. Park Farm and Bridgefield snakes update. So regarding the Park Farm snake, the organizer of that has requested that the stones be returned, and they've now been returned. Ashford Borough Council has requested that the bench be returned, and that has now been returned. So we're no longer involved in the Park Farm snake. Peter's been in contact with the organizer of the Bridgefield snake, but she has now moved outside of the area. Although she's put us in contact with a resident who was involved at the time. I'm not sure if Peter's been able to speak to her yet.
Yeah, I spoke to the former resident, and basically I explained our kind of issues with the bench, and also what we discussed at the last meeting with regards to having the stones out each year, or a selection of the stones, and asking residents to add to it, and maybe having a theme each year, like around an event. And she absolutely loved the idea. She thought it was a brilliant idea. And she said that she was going to get the lady that organised it with her, that lives on Bridgefield, to give us a call and we can discuss it further. But she said there was no reason why she wouldn't be able to help kind of keep it going, even though she now lives somewhere else. So it was a really positive response. So yeah, she was very keen on continuing it, and she liked the idea of having a different theme. You know, this year could be the Olympics, next year could be something else. So yeah, very, very positive, which is nice.
Thank you. Did any council have any thoughts on this? Because potentially, if you're happy with the idea that we discussed at the last PC meeting, and with the Park Farm snake now not something we're involved in, we may be able to decide this and have reached a conclusion on how we're going to have a memorial involving the snakes for Bridgefield. So, Councillor Moss.
Thank you, Chair. It's only what I said at the last meeting. This is something that ought to continue into perpetuity, because it's another great thing that's happened to the world in many, many ways, and nobody should ever forget it, I don't believe.
Thank you. Councillor Hicks, please. Sorry, you're muted.
I did suggest that maybe some photos could be taken of these stones from Bridgefield, and they could be put in the pavilion as a permanent memorial, so that everybody who comes there will know, you know, what we did, regardless where the stones are. And I must confess, I see this rather as pop-up art, sort of here today and gone tomorrow. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. So at the past meeting, we were talking about that there may be in the order of £500 a year goes to local schools or primary groups for sort of art supplies to make further stones, and to arrange events about that, so that the stones would continue to be added each year. And although we may lose the original stones over time, there was still that continuity, that was with the idea that there would be 2 different locations or potentially 3. So I'd like to propose that, I mean, although we can't commit future budgets, that the idea will be that in order to mark the coronavirus victims and the stones and what the children did, and that in future years the parish council will make £250 available to local groups for this project, and the stones will be brought out each year for a month from the date of the first lockdown.
I'll happily second that.
Thank you. Can all those in favour please show your hands? Thank you. Those against or abstaining, can you vocalise that please?
No, abstain.
Abstain.
Thank you. Okay. Low traffic neighbourhoods. Councillor Hicks, did you want to summarise this for us, or did you have to do that?
I don't know if Pete actually sent everything round, but I did have quite a good look into these things, and it's mainly Serco's idea. And all the examples that they gave, they were in big, busy towns where there was an alternative route. And unfortunately, on Churchill, there is no alternative route for, whoopsie. Oh, there you go, thank you. There is no alternative route there. So I think it's worth our while, having investigated it, but I really can't see that we will ever get this off the ground. And I sort of wonder what other people would think about it. The thing is, people would like to have lower traffic signals or a lower traffic speed on Churchill, but I think everybody everywhere would like to do that. And I don't see that this particular scheme, this low traffic neighbourhood, will actually benefit anybody in this particular area. But I'm open to ideas if someone else thinks it is a good idea.
Thank you for researching this, Councillor Hicks. I've reached the same conclusion as you, really, that we have to consider all of our residents, and that overall I don't see a benefit for everybody from this, although it may be a benefit to some very locally to it, but it's not something I could support myself. So are we just going to note this report, or do we believe we need to make a decision here formally?
I would have thought it would be useful to make some sort of decision, i.e. not to pursue it because it's impractical, or that we should be pursuing it. But if we did, it would be an enormous amount of work, and I really don't see that we would be successful either. But either way, I would like to write back to the resident and say, what decision we have reached tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second the proposal.
Okay, so I understand the proposal to be that
it's not practical in this particular
the parish council doesn't believe that it's practical in this situation to implement a low traffic neighbourhood area along Churchill. All those in favour, please show your hand. Sorry, Councillor Cosgrove. Sorry, Councillor Cosgrove had his hand up.
Yeah, sorry, it's just that it just, whilst it's a good idea in certain areas, it's become politically charged in London. You've got to sort of remember that Ashford are flooding the place with houses, and that floods the place with, for every house you get 2.5 cars. So it's Ashford's desire to clog us all up with cars, and all these once country routes are becoming rat runs. You just got to accept that everyone's voting for houses, you get what comes with it. So yeah, I'm well with Aileen on this one. It's just totally impractical.
Okay, thank you. So we have one motion. Can all those in favour please show your hands?
I agree.
Thank you. Any against or abstaining? Can you vocalise that, please? Thank you. So the next item is to receive the April finance report documents. Now, because of the short time between meetings and between the turn of the month, these have been a little later arriving than you usually expect. But Christine, is there anything in particular you'd like to highlight to us, or you think we might ask you a question on?
I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary.
Okay, thank you. Did members have any questions for Christine? Okay. So we've received that, and we'll move on to the next item. To review invoices and consider authorising payment. I believe this is for insurance, Peter.
Yeah, we've got one item which was on the agenda, which is for the insurance for the yearly invoice, yearly insurance cover for the pickup and the lawnmower. The annual renewal for this year is £1,175 and a penny. So I need authorisation on that. I did get other quotes, and this one came in at the lowest.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to propose.
I'll happily second it.
Thank you. Can all those in favour please show your hands?
Yeah.
Any against or abstain, please vocalise that. Thank you. To receive an update on the new bank accounts and authorise any action. Peter.
Okay, so following obviously not having Handels Banken, we've looked at now some other options after last month's meeting, and I've spoken to a couple of other parish councils, Great Sharp being one of them, and they have a deposit account, like a savings account with Nationwide. So there's basically what I would recommend is that we open one and potentially two business savers accounts with either Nationwide, HSBC or Barclays, and we deposit £85,000 in each of them or one of them, so that we've spread our money around, so that it is kind of more. I don't know if you noticed, but if you read the finance report, the precept has come in this month, or just literally at the end on last day of the month. So we've currently got in our bank account 385,000, or bank accounts, sorry, £383,000, with about 290 sitting in the NatWest accounts. So we do need to kind of move some of that money out just in case anything does go wrong with with that bank in particular. Yeah, it's over to you guys to decide if you want to go ahead with that or not.
Okay, Councillor Bridger, please.
If we got sort of 295,000 in just the, you say NatWest, wouldn't it be best to have all three anyway, and then we can put 85 into each of them, and then we've got the extra one as a backup up to 85,000, even if it doesn't get to 85,000 on the third one. So I'll be happy to propose that we open with Nationwide, HSBC and Barclays.
I'd happily second that. I think we need as many accounts as possible.
I don't think we don't need all three of them, because we've got we've already got NatWest and Metro, so probably
My concern with that is, although I appreciate the 85,000, if you've got lots of different bank accounts, are they then getting checked regularly? And if something did go awry, are you noticing it? And is a password potentially going to have issues and things? I think you expose yourself to other risks. And in the event that we had 3 or 4 banks going under, I mean, are the others going to be there anyway? And so personally, I'd rather the parish council have 3 bank accounts, but not 4 or 5. But I appreciate the argument that some of you are making and why you're making it. But I think I'm going to fall on a different side here. So I suggest that I propose that we give Peter the authority to open an account with any of the 3, and he can. I mean, if it's difficult to progress it with one, then he's got the authority to make the decision with another. Councillor Townend, please.
Yeah, I was just. I mean, with Matt's proposal, I mean, I think it's maybe not all three because we need 4 accounts to divide our money to with the £85,000 threshold. So 2 of the 3 is fine, but I do feel that we need to put across. I understand that there might be a risk of the more you have, the more you need to check. But I think that we have ample people to be able to make sure that that's checked. We're audited regularly. We have our own internal checking systems. We have Christine as well. I think that the risk of something happening to the bank and losing the money probably is just as high a risk as potential misdoing from someone.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Barber.
Generally, everywhere that I've ever worked, we've only sort of dealt with 1 or 2 sort of bank accounts, and it has been a lot higher value. But at the end of the day, we're a parish council. So I do think that we need to go with more than 1, just so it can be seen as protecting the monies. You know, the chances of them falling over is quite low, but they are the limits. It's a difficult thing, but at the end of the day, you need 1 bank that is basically your working capital of your day-to-day running. But if we're going to be holding reserves, I think it would be prudent to keep it within several other bank accounts. And if it's more than 3, it's more than 3.
Okay. Was anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Bridger, I think Councillor Townend suggested that perhaps he was thinking 2 rather than 3. Are you willing to make that amendment? Because I might withdraw mine then as well and be able to support 2, I think.
And did you want to go to 2 or you're on mute, Ben?
If we could, sorry, thank you. I think it'd be good if we could delegate authority for Pete to open 2 out of those potential 3 accounts.
Yeah, I'll change mine to that then.
Thank you very much. That's appreciated. Can all those in favour please show their hands?
Agree.
Any against or abstaining, please vocalise that. Thank you. To note proposed monthly finance health check procedure. Now, actually, that's not the procedure, is it? It's the. Peter, has this taken place yet?
Not yet, because obviously there's been kind of a very short time period between meetings. So, and like also the last month only ended on Friday. So Christine very kindly, and big thanks to Christine, worked over the bank holiday weekend kind of to get it ready for today.
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, it's kind of, especially with the big monies coming in on Friday as well. We couldn't close the month end until.
Okay. In future with this monthly health check, is it, because I know councillors have time pressures that they can't necessarily foresee, and it does need to happen just before the meeting. Is it better that we just say it's a councillor that's not done it recently, and that Peter can then call round and see who might be available, rather than saying it's a particular councillor, and then if that councillor's got work pressures at the time and things, it's difficult to. Is that a better way of doing this? Because I understand why, but we have missed 2 now. Sorry, thoughts from members, please.
That's a good idea, and Peter, if you can put me down for the first one, because I have neglected my duty. It's 2 said work pressures, but put me down for the first one, and I'll come and do it straight away. It's absolutely. But I think that what you're proposing, James, is a better idea.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Moss, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Actually, this is only an extension of something that used to happen before we went into online banking. Often, Christine would phone up and see which council was available to come in and witness an authorised check. So I think it's a good idea that Peter has the freedom to call upon any councillor rather than somebody's obligated to do it. I'm not able to do it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I suppose we better vote on that. So I've proposed that, and I think Councillor Talon seconded it. All those in favour, please show your hands.
Agreed.
Any against or abstaining, please vocalise that. Thank you. So the next item is planning matters. To consider all planning applications received. Now, I have managed to have a look at these this time, and Councillor Hicks has submitted a comment suggestion for the old mill, which is to support the mill, the application. Did you want to speak on that at all, Councillor Hicks?
No.
Okay. The next application was 48 Violet Way, which was conversion of an existing integral garage into a habitable space. I visually and in terms of built form and things, I think this is acceptable. I'm not sure if members have concerns about parking in that area. That was the only potential concern I saw that might cause an objection. Councillor Bridger?
Well, I sort of live in the area. There is quite a bit of an issue with parking in that bit. There doesn't seem to be enough for housing, and it is normally quite busy in an evening on that road. So I would technically object or no comment.
Okay. I guess that was the concern that I had without being as familiar as I know others are. So are we suggesting that the parish council objects on those grounds? I did note also that there is an additional bedroom and potentially you could object on Stobmarsh grounds as well. I didn't know if members wanted to do that because I know that's a bit controversial sometimes given it's an individual dwelling.
Yeah, I'd be happy to propose to object it.
Okay.
That's okay. I can confirm. Is this the road by the old shop where you go round and then go up to the roundabout?
Yeah.
Where it gets double parked on either side. Yeah. Okay.
So I think we're suggesting that's an objection on parking grounds and Stobmarsh grounds. The next comment, the next application was parcel 1 on Bridgefield, and this was the residential travel plan. Now, KCC Highways has commented to say that there's information that they'd expect to be there which is missing, and they want to see it before they can comment. So I suggest that the parish council comments to support the request for further information, and that we will provide a comment once that information is available. Does anyone want to say anything there? Okay. The next application was 105 War Islands Way, which was a lawful development certificate for a single-storey extension. Lawful development certificates are very much whether it falls within for development or not. I think that we should just make a comment of no comment there because it's very factual. It either is or it isn't, and leave it to ABC. And then the next application was 28 Lucilla Avenue in Roman Ward, and that was also a lawful development certificate, and I've suggested no comment for the same reasons. And then the last application was 3 Ruffords Wood in Park Farm, alteration to existing conservatory, conversion of existing garage, first floor side extension, and loft conversion. This application is certainly adding 1 bedroom, and there's a large playroom with an ensuite bathroom in the roof as well, so potentially 2. There aren't additional parking spaces, and you are losing the garage. So if members have a parking concern there, then that may influence what you want to do. I thought there probably wasn't a parking issue quite there.
It's I know that road's a little cul-de-sac, James, so that might cause a bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just a little road, and the only really parking is on their drive or on the turning point, really.
Okay. And there are, I think, 2 other properties that have to run through that property to get access to theirs. Okay, so would you be suggesting that we do object on the parking grounds, and I guess given we have on the other one on Stodmarsh as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak now? Okay, so those are the proposed comments. Can all the members in favour please show your hands? Any against or abstaining? Can you vocalise those, please? Thank you. The next item is to note decisions. We've received the decision on the GP practice from Ashborough Council, which was to refuse on the green buffer zone. It sounds like they may be intending to appeal that, so we'll have to await that and see if it happens. Ashborough Council did seem to take on board the points that we were making about connectivity and the primacy of the local plan and separation assessments and green corridors and the like. I don't know if anyone had anything they wanted to say there, but keep it moderate if you do, please. Okay, thank you. To consider appeals and enforcement matters, I think we're aware of the enforcement matter and we've spoken about that enough tonight, unless anyone's got anything they want to say. Okay, and any other planning matters? Does anyone have anything they wanted to raise? Okay, that I'm aware, we don't have any correspondence and written reports other than those that you're sent weekly, and I've not seen anyone raise questions over those. So I'm intending to move on. Okay, parish manager's report. Is there anything in particular you want to highlight there, Peter?
No, just to let everyone know that we've now launched the sunflower competition, which Shailene, Councillor Hicks, suggested, and it's been really well received. We've delivered over 1,000 pots and compost bits to Kingsnorth Primary School, Furley Park, Little Acorns, Little Stars, the Parkview Care Home, and also a Scout Cub group did theirs as well tonight. And we've also had some that have been going out at the community cafe. So I know that Marie's had quite a few emails as well, which is good. So we've got, hopefully have lots of entries, which is good.
Okay, thank you very much.
We've also had a few updates as well, from some schools with regards to their COVID funding. One school has said that they've been supporting a family with uniform, and they expect to be supporting more Kingsnorth families once the furlough scheme ends. We've also obviously we had the update from John Wallace, which is really good last month. So it's nice to see that the schools are getting engaged in and telling us what they've been doing with the money.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, I don't see any questions there, so I'm going to move on to parish councillors' reports. Councillor Townend.
I would just like to update on the community cafe, obviously. So it's been partially open now for 2 weeks, obviously for this takeaway only. First thing again is I went down to see it myself, and to say thank you again to Matt for the fantastic job he's done on the pavilion. It looks absolutely amazing, and it's such a it's much more of a viable space, and it's a really good job. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. But just obviously to give an update to say that everyone's been really happy that the community cafe's open again. The volunteers are very happy to be doing it again, which is brilliant. The take-ins have been pretty impressive. I think they've been over the £550 mark for the last 2 weeks. Peter has informed me that they are we've ordered new uniforms and aprons for the volunteers, which will be good, and also that we'll be moving indoors from 17th of May. Is that correct, Peter?
Yeah, so when the restrictions come into are eased on the 17th of May, we'll be looking at bringing in a limited number of indoor tables, which will be socially distanced. But yeah, the volunteers are quite looking forward to actually having some people inside, because we do get some older people that come up during the afternoon to do their knitting and nattering. So I know they'd be appreciate some indoor space.
So yeah, and just to say thank you again to Peter and the staff for getting it up and running and all the hard work they put in to getting us to this stage.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bridger.
Yeah, it's not really an update for myself, really. But of course, it's 2 years ago that we had our last AGM, and of course, we got Peter as our manager. So just wanted to sort of say thank you and sort of how proud I am of all of us, especially within the last year, because it was this time last year that we went into our first virtual meeting, and we all went into lockdown and stuff. And it's just great to see how proactive we all are and the staff of the parish council are. So just thank you to everyone. And it's great to see that what we're doing benefits the community, and hopefully we continue that as long as we can.
Thank you, Matt. Councillor Cosgrove and then Councillor Moss, I think.
No, I have nothing to say. Sorry.
Sorry. Councillor Moss.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to reiterate that, as Councillor Townsend mentioned, it is worthwhile listening to the residents. We've had a number of complaints about loose flags in and around footpaths, especially the cross sections and interjections. And I just bombarded ABC on their app, report it, along with a number of other residents around and about, and it worked. All those areas that we complained about have now been referred. So even though it might not be our problem, it's always best to listen and then see if you can do something about it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Did I have any other councillors wishing to speak? Okay. So on the agenda, we've got to receive any updates on the Cloverleaf Field and authorise actions in closed session, which we'll take at the end. The next item was next or future agendas. Did members have things they wanted to see on the next agenda? Okay, thank you. And the date of the next meeting. So provisionally, Peter and I expect that the next meeting would be the 22nd of June due to the COVID restrictions. But that date's not set in stone due to just the situation we're in at the moment. So it's up to members really. I mean, in theory, we could meet outside if we needed to. If you wanted to fix a date, or you may wish to make temporary delegations to Peter that allow us to do some things that would normally come to the parish council in the meantime, or you may think it's sufficiently certain that that's going to happen that we wait until that meeting and reevaluate. Does anyone, Councillor Hicks?
I think it would be quite useful if we provisionally book the recreation hall, because it's a really big hall, and if we are going to meet, we can still socially distance, and I think that would be a sensible precaution. I think if we have it in the pavilion, even if we are allowed to sit next door to each other, I don't think a lot of people will be very happy about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hicks. Sorry, Councillor Bridger.
Sorry, I was on mute. I think by sort of June, of course, from what we've been hearing, social distancing might be being scrapped within the next month and stuff. So I think it should be fine by then. If it isn't, and we still need to meet indoors, of course, the pavilion is too small, really. Ashborough Council, I know, do allow you the use to book the chamber, which is quite large, and we could technically use that for our meetings if needs be.
No.
Councillor Hicks.
I think you'll find that Ashborough Council Chamber will actually only take 30 people because they've already checked it out, and because the seats are actually in a horseshoe, you can't actually move chairs around. So I don't think the chamber will be the answer.
With regards to the recreation centre, I very much doubt we'd be able to book it any night of the week because they'll be going back to indoor classes, so they'll have a full programme of exercise classes. So we wouldn't be able to book the recreation centre. if the chamber, when you said it can only seat 30 people, is that correct, Councillor
Yes.
Hicks? Well, I don't know. I can't remember when I've ever seen 30 people at a meeting.
Well,
Sure.
I have inside information, put it that way.
I meant that I've never seen 30 people at a parish council meeting. There's 10 councillors.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
So we could easily, I think we could easily, if we could hold it in the chamber, we could easily get enough seats for a parish
Fair enough.
council meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, what about the village hall?
I don't think you'd get many more people in than the pavilion, to be honest, once you seated it, because there's a stage and stuff in there. So I don't think it'd be much difference.
Sorry, I'm gonna. I think from councillor. Let me go first. I think from what I'm hearing that members would like us to have a physical meeting as soon as we're allowed to, but Peter and myself are going to have to figure out quite where that is located and how that works. I think we also do need to bear in mind there may be, if people haven't received their vaccinations yet, there may be members of the public or staff that don't wish to attend, and we will just need to be aware of that. Councillor Moss.
It's all right, Chair. You've just gone over what I was about to say, so really doesn't matter.
Okay. But I'm not hearing an appetite for making delegations, and that we're not going to be meeting soon. So I don't need to go into what that might look like. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. We're now going to go into closed session briefly, I think. I don't think it's going to take long. But thank you very much for attending.